Hello, I'm Victoria Hawkins, and today I'm going to talk with you some about addressing the violence crisis facing American Indian and Alaskan Native women today. In the United States, American Indian and Alaska Native women are experiencing violence at disproportionately higher rates than any other racial or ethnic group. Here are some key statistics. 84% of American Indian and Alaskan Native women experience violence in their lifetime. 56 will experience sexual violence. 55.5% experience physical violence. 63.8% experience psychological aggression. The third highest cause of death in American Indian and Alaska Native females aged 15 to 24 is homicide, and 48.8% are experiencing stalking. The roots of this violence lie in historical oppression and trauma. Before colonization by European settlers, tribal nations were matriarchal. Women held positions of power and were honored and respected as sacred. Violence against women was a tactic to destroy the foundation of Native communities and gain dominance. The resulting patriarchal system became systematic, disrupting cultural norms, reducing tribal sovereignty, and silencing the voices of American Indian and Alaska Native women. The effect is intergenerational racism, historical oppression, historical trauma, and embedded violence. These systemic issues lead to a lack of prosecution of perpetrators and pose significant barriers to American Indian and Alaska Native women in receiving services. Progress has been made, but there are needs that exist still today. Legislative efforts such as Savannah's Act and the Not Invisible Act target the critical issue of missing and murdered Indigenous women. Policy amendments such as the 2013 reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act began to address tribal nations' ability to prosecute violent perpetrators on tribal land. Indigenous-led grassroots organizations work for spreading awareness, advocating for policy changes, and promoting, cultivating, and providing culturally grounded approaches to prevention and healing for American Indian and Alaska Native women affected by violence. Even with legislative changes, most acts of violence against American Indian and Alaska Native women go unprosecuted. Resources are limited for many of these women due to lack of funds, living in rural environments, and a lack of culturally appropriate care. So what are some ways to advocate and support change? Support tribal sovereignty efforts to restore tribal nations' ability to govern and prosecute fully. Stand with American Indian and Alaska Native leaders and policymakers to strengthen their voices and message. If you are in direct care, learn about and utilize culturally relevant care grounded in Indigenous traditional practices. We can spread awareness of legislation initiatives through keeping ourselves informed and sharing Indigenous-created information. Advocate for increased resources and funding for culturally based survivor services. And support Indigenous-led organizations, social media campaigns, and initiatives. Here, I have gathered a few resources for those of you that might be in some of these fields and for all of us, just as the everyday people that can help out with this cause. So if you're a legal professional or if you're interested in policy initiatives and advocacy opportunities, visit American Indian Law Center and the National Congress of American Indians. If you are a healthcare professional of any kind, both physical as well as mental and behavioral health, the National Indian Health Board, the Urban Indian Health Board, and a blog that is listed here will offer some resources to check into for providing culturally appropriate care. If you are working with American Indian and Alaska Native women's veterans groups, there is a group called Native American Women Warriors that you might want to check out. And then for all of us, but particularly those practitioners that might be working with women in general and American Indian and Alaska Native women in their practices, There are women's resources, education, activism opportunities, and advocacy information at Mending the Sacred Hoop, the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, and the National Congress of American Indians. Everyone can make a difference in this movement to eliminate violence against American Indian and Alaska Native women. For getting started right away, visit the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center today for opportunities to build awareness and become a change agent. You will see that I've listed places that you can visit their site as a website, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Thank you for your time today and for being a part of this most important change and movement to support the American Indian and the Alaska Native women that are facing these violent challenges.